Now, Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen has announced a strengthened national strategy to contain and ultimately eradicate the foot-and-mouth disease. He's also called for the outbreak to be declared a national state of disaster. But many farmers say they are already carrying massive losses, and some are sceptical about whether government has the vaccine capacity and operational speed to pull off a decade-long plan. Joining me in studio is Executive Director and Senior Analyst at BFAP, Dr. Mmatlou Kalaba, to chat more on this. Mmatlou, thanks for your time. It's great to have you in studio. This obviously is very, very topical, mixed and very divergent views on the issue that John Steenhuisen, the Minister of Agriculture, has proposed. What is your immediate reaction when you heard of his plans?
Thank you, Hugo, for the invitation. Yes, you're right. The issue of foot and mouth disease has been actually affecting South African agriculture or the livestock sector for quite a number of years now. We go back to 2019 when we lost the status as an FMD-free country, which basically means that we are a country that is living or that has presence and normal outbreaks of FMD. So it is about time that government takes a strong stance, takes action, and start to address this problem. But as you said, we are 6 years behind, but we would rather do it now because we can't undo on what we missed in the last 6 years.
So, having lost that status, that foot-and-mouth disease-free status in 2019, and that's going back
Yes.
almost 7 years now, what does it actually cost the industry in trade, confidence, and potentially jobs?
It's quite a lot. It's been quantified quite in a number of places in terms of the billions. But just if you take into account this agricultural sector, the livestock sector is actually the strongest one in terms of sustaining livelihoods, sustaining that trade you're talking about. And it also has a very long value chain in terms of employment from the farm, abattoirs, feedlots, up until retail, let alone the export volumes that we have lost. So it is a substantial loss to the economy and to the sector.
Now, Dr. Mmatlou, the one question that boggles many people's minds, right, is that foot-and-mouth doesn't actually affect humans. It's not passed on to humans, right? So why the fuss, right? Because if it's this disease that affects animals, let's link it to humans and this public outcry, if you will.
Well, when you say it doesn't affect humans, you basically say that people cannot be sick from consuming that meat, or they cannot test positive for different variants of FMD. There, you're right. However, it is a big issue in the sense that, if you are to control it, as I said, 7 years we still have this disease. In other words, we failed to control it. So if you are to control it, you need to nip it where it occurs. So how does it get distributed? How does it happen that back in 2019 we had only 2 provinces, now as many as 7 have or had outbreaks during that period? In the same way that when we had COVID, the distribution, the contagious nature of the disease was the movement of people, or the carriers were people of COVID-19 virus, right? In this case, the carriers are the animals or animal products. So you cannot continue to move those products while you have, let's say, presence or even positive tests of animals having had the FMD. So it is, at that point, a serious nature. But it goes beyond that. It does destroy the sector. It does destroy the economy to a large extent. The communal economies, the areas that you were showing earlier before this session, is that the people in those areas, livestock is their livelihoods. It's a means to send kids to universities. It's a means to pay public health or whatever their needs. So this disease has potential to destroy it, and commercial farmers and others, I think, they have already made a case where they lost their business as a result of this disease. It is important to control it.
So let's understand something.
Yes.
You have a herd of cattle
Yeah.
that contract foot and mouth. You have 500 beasts, for argument's sake, that contract foot and mouth, right? What is abundantly clear to many of our viewers is that you cannot process, you cannot move those that livestock, you cannot milk the dairy cows or slaughter for beef. So to an extent, it stops, it freezes your business. Outside of this implication, how else are businesses impacted by foot and mouth disease?
That's actually the core of it, that it disrupts business, the businesses that are built around livestock and livestock products. Earlier on, we talked about trade. Our trade is substantially linked to agriculture and livestock in particular. So again, our trade partners, remember, not only the actual products, but the reputation as a sustainable supplier of these kind of products, the competitiveness that South Africa is known for around the world, that reputation would fall apart. I mean, just as an example, beyond even our own continental shores. Our neighboring countries, Botswana, Namibia, and Eswatini, which are also our SACU partners, they have stopped any imports of the products as a result of this outbreak. So that is the seriousness beyond just business, but it can have both diplomatic, social, as well as even at a personal level, that kind of impact.
So let's bring John Steenhuisen into the picture, as well as the rest of government, right? Yes. Now, there's been a public outcry because what we understand from Richard Dufanos, Director of Mmatlou Dairy, he lost millions of rands in revenue due to a foot and mouth disease in mid-2025. He vaccinated his herd, which already been reinfected. So that's obviously an issue because the vaccines are controlled by government. His cattle were vaccinated and they're still caught foot and mouth. Does it speak to the quality of the vaccines that we're bringing in? Or does it also suggest that there are variations to the foot and mouth disease that we are not aware of or that government is unable to deal with?
It can be a combination of both as well as management. But as you're talking about a dairy farmer who has been doing this for years. I'm talking about producing dairy. So he has the know-how and the management of it. But if we are just to take a step back, is that a vaccine, what it does is that it improves immunity. It enables those that are not affected to have strength when they get infected, should that happen. But on a dairy farm, it's also very difficult in the sense that you have all the animals in the same area are almost kept inside, right? Even after you're vaccinated, and let's say the immune system has not improved, just one outbreak or an addition that comes through basically means that the entire herd, which is close together, it gets affected that way. But back to your point is that the management and the efficiency of the vaccine goes beyond just injecting the animals, but there are monitoring systems that need to be followed.
Mmatlou, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to just give us a summation. John Steenhuisen announcing a strengthened national strategy to contain and ultimately eradicate foot and mouth disease, arguing it should be declared as national state of disaster. Your reaction to that? Is it going to happen? Does it make sense for you?
Look, action is required. As early as the years that we're mentioning that we lost that FMD-free status, we needed this kind of action that goes straight into addressing the issue, starting from stopping it, distributing it, and dealing with what follows. But just the point that I want to make around the issue of declaring a state of disaster, what it does is that, because by law, when you have an outbreak like this, you're supposed to inform government so that they can control. But in that process, your livestock gets culled. Then when it gets culled, what do you get? Nothing. So, because we don't have a mechanism to compensate the farmers. So the state of the disaster is to allow those farmers to be transparent, get compensated, and that improves the ability to control the spread.
Well, that's where we're going to leave that conversation. Dr. Mmatlou Kalaba, Executive Director and Senior Analyst at BFAP, reacting on John Steenhuisen, Agriculture Minister's plans to eradicate foot and mouth disease in South Africa.